Hello everyone. My name is Naoki Suzuki from Tokyo Gakuin University, Japan. Although I truly wish I could be there with you in person, I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to present online today. Before I dive into today's topic, I'd like to ask you something. It's a simple question, but one that reveals a lot about how we perceive inclusion. Have you ever seen students who uses a little chair stand up and dance together with their peers during a PE class? Maybe some of you that have, but for many, the answer might be the no. So, and that are exactly why I want to share this story with you today. Today, I'd like to share a powerful case study in inclusive physical education. Two public elementary schools in Japan, each with students with little chairs, came together in a shared virtual space, a metaverse environment to explore new possibilities in remote or collaborative physical education. In conventional PE settings, students who use chairs often end up as spectators or participate only in limited ways. Despite the best efforts of educators, inclusive participation remains a significant challenge. Both schools in were studied had both students using chairs, and teachers often voiced concern. I want to include everyone equally, but I just don't know how. That led us to a bold idea. What if we created a shared metaverse space, so where all students could appear as avatars, dance together, and feel truly equal? Our goal was not just to facilitate access, but to explore the conditions that enabled meaningful participation beyond physical limitations. To guide this inquiry, we asked three key research questions. First, how does team teaching support inclusive physical education? Second, what role does the metaverse play in facilitating engagement? Third, how does the protest effect, where students' self-perception changes through their avatars, affect learning? We conducted a qualitative case study involving the two public elementary schools in Japan, one located in H City and other in K City, approximately 600 kilometers apart. Both schools had students who used wheelchairs. The lesson took place in a metaverse forest environment. Students stood in front of a tablet device, and their full body movements were captured using the camera. These movements were projected in real time onto the avatars that appeared in the shared virtual world. All avatars had the same design, differing only in color. The PE activity involved dancing to a samba rhythm. Students moved their arms, legs, and torsos freely so while watching themselves in a virtual mirror. So each school adopted a team teaching model. One teacher that provided direct support to students of physical activity. So while the second teacher focused on observation, asking the reflective questions, and offering the encouragement in a real time. We collected the data through video recordings, field notes, and interviews with teachers after the lesson. At the beginning of the lesson, students stood at that distance where their full bodies could be captured by the tablet camera. In the metaverse space, a virtual mirror was displayed, allowing them to check their avatars' real-time movements. This setup helped all students, including those who use wheelchairs, feel they were starting on an equal footing, as their avatars appeared so standing just like everyone else. So when the music began, students started moving freely, using their hands, feet, and entire bodies to and dance to the symbolism. Since all avatars appeared identical in shape, with only the color differences, there was no visual distinction between those who used rituals and those who didn't. As a result, general education students did not hold back or overly accommodate. So they danced naturally and energetically, so engaging equally in shared time and space. The team teaching model further enhanced the experience. One teacher supported physical movement, while the other observed and offered real-time prompts, feedback, or minor adjustments. For example, when a student seemed unsure of their movement, the teacher encouraged them to use the mirror to self-correct or to look at the peer's movement for reference. Through the use of avatars, students shifted from being the watched to the becoming collaborators in motion. This transformation marked a key aspect of the lesson's success. Throughout the lesson, we observed a range of powerful and meaningful student reactions, especially from those who use wheelchairs. One particularly memorable moment came from student A in KCD, who typically shows little physical engagement during the physical education classes. When they saw their avatar standing and dancing in the virtual space, they exclaimed with joy. It really feels like I'm standing and dancing. What followed was even more remarkable. These students, who usually remained still or hesitant, began to move enthusiastically, swinging their arms and dancing with a newfound sense of the freedom and confidence. The classroom, the teacher noted how surprised and so moved they were to see such activity participation. So similarly, student B from HC, also a wheelchair user, smiled and said, "I didn't know physical education could be this fun." These students usually experience PE as an isolating activity, often participating separately or being watched over with careful accommodation. But here, represented by an avatar just like their peers, they joined in fully and felt genuinely included in the group. The technology that allows them to experience a sense of the belonging that rarely felt in traditional physical settings. Equally important were the responses of the general education students, since avatars were uniform in shape, with only the color as a distinguishing feature. It was impossible to tell who used a real chair. As a result, no students held back or acted with excessive caution. Instead, they danced freely and joyfully. Several students later said things like, "We were just dancing together. I didn't even think of who was who, and it felt normal because everyone looked the same." These reactions demonstrate that shared digital representation in the metaverse created a truly inclusive environment. One where students engaged with each other naturally without the burden of the labels or expectations, and where all students, regardless of ability, could experience the joy of equal participation. In this slide, I would like to highlight the concept of the protest effect. psychological phenomenon in which a person's behavior and attitudes are influenced by their digital self-representation. This effect was first identified by the researchers at Stanford University and has since been so explored in educational and therapeutic context. In our lesson, this effect was clearly observed among students who use wheelchairs. These students typically experience physical limitations and participate in physical education while seated, which often restricts their range of motion and limits their sense of embodiment. However, when they saw their avatars dancing freely and confidently in a standing posture, something changed. Their perception of themselves shifted, and with it, their behavior. For instance, one student said, I feel like I can really do it while watching their avatar dance. Motivated by that visual representation, they began to move their arms wider, dance more energetically, and engage more fully than they usually would. This suggests that seeing themselves presented as capable and dynamic encouraged them to act with more self-confidence and belief in their own abilities. Moreover, students who had previously described PE as boring or not for me starting saying things like, that was so fun, and I want to do it again. This shift in emotional response points to a meaningful increase in motivation and psychological engagement. In short, the protective effect allowed students to transcend the limitations of their physical reality, at least in the virtual space, and help them see new possibilities for themselves. It empowered them to move, express themselves, and most importantly, they so believe in their potential. For inclusive physical education, this opens up powerful new avenues for both participation and personal growth. Now, I would like to discuss how this case study addressed the three guiding research questions we set at the outset. First, regarding the question, how does team teaching support inclusive PE? In this project, each school assigned two teachers, one to provide direct support for students' physical movements, and another to observe student reactions and offer reflective prompts or additional assistance as needed. This flexible team-based approach allowed for the immediate adjustment during the lesson and ensured that each student received personalized, responsive support. This structure was especially effective for building an inclusive learning environment where all students, regardless of physical ability, could feel supported and engaged. Second, what impact does the metaverse environment have on students' participation? As mentioned earlier, the use of avatars that shared the same shape with only color variations eliminated visual marks of disability. No student could tell who used a wheelchair, which encouraged a natural, uninhibited participation. Additionally, the experience of dancing together in a shared virtual space, despite being physically apart, created a strong sense of togetherness and enhanced motivation to participate. Third, how does the protest effect influence students' behavior and self-perception? This was especially apparent among students who use wheelchairs. Seeing their avatars stand and dance gave them a sense of physical freedom and possibility. They began to act more confidently, taking initiative and participating with greater emerge and positivity. This shift reflects a boost in self-efficacy and psychological safety, two essential conditions for meaningful data inclusion. Over this study also provided clear, comparing the answers to our research questions, demonstrating that inclusive physical education can be enhanced through thoughtful teaching strategies and immersive technologies. One of the most important educational insights from this study is the realization that inclusive physical education is not just an ideal. It is achievable through the intentional use of technology and thoughtful instructional design. For students who use wheelchairs participating in physical education on equal terms with their classmates has often been difficult, if not impossible. But in this virtual space, they were able to stand and dance like everyone else. And because all avatars looked at the same except for color, no one could tell who was using a wheelchair. This removed the need for the special conditions and allowed every student to interact freely and naturally as equal. This was not just a case of participation despite a disability. It was a rare moment of true inclusion, where differences appeared, and the students could enjoy and learn together without barriers. Importantly, so the general education students also benefited. They didn't have to so hold back or adjust their behavior. They could dance with full energy and still feel connected. The joy of dancing together became a shared experience, not one defined by the limitations or accommodations. This kind of environment doesn't just include students with disabilities. It enriches a learning experience for everyone. The metaverse enabled a level playing field, reminding us that digital spaces can offer new possibilities for inclusion that even a physical environment may struggle to provide. We believe this experience challenges traditional assumptions and encourages us to reimagine so inclusive education as something dynamic, shared, and empowering for all. In conclusion, this study highlights a crucial points. Inclusive physical education is not just about physical access. It's about a meaningful engagement. For students who use wheelchairs, simply so being present in a PE class is not enough. What matters is whether they feel emotionally safe, socially accepted, and actively involved. That is the true goal of inclusion. In our study, so we found that three key elements made this possible. First, team teaching allowed flexible and responsive support for the diverse student needs. Second, immersive technology through the metaverse provided a space where physical limitations became irrelevant. So avatars and the protest effect gave students new confidence in their capabilities, helping them act more freely and joyfully. By bringing these components together, we were able to create a physical education experience where every student could participate as themselves without fear or hesitation. And most importantly, that this wasn't just beneficial for students with disabilities. It enriched the learning environment for everyone involved, creating a shared space of joy, respect, and equity. This is the kind of the physical education that we believe all students deserve. Inclusive education is not just about access. It's about creating a space where every student can learn with dignity, they feel safe and belong. In this case study, through the use of the metaverse, we witnessed students who use wheelchairs dancing confidently alongside their peers, and the classmates are participating with full energy and joy. This experience showed us that when technology meets thoughtful pedagogy, we can design PE classes where all students feel truly included. And as we move forward, I hope we can continue exploring the new ways to ensure that every student, regardless of ability, has the opportunity to thrive, to move, and to feel proud. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my presentation today. I hope this talk offered you some insights into the potential of inclusive physical education and how we can support every student to participate fully. If you have any questions, comments, or reflections, I would be very happy to hear them. Thank you for listening to my presentation.